Okay, so I am a fan of yours, Lauren Southern. I think that you are really smart and um, I admire your courage and your passion at such a young age for the topics that you cover. Um, I don't usually do videos, but I wanted to be effective in my message to you, so I did this in like letter form, and hopefully it's not too lame. So, okay, here we go. Uh, Lauren Southern. Sorry if I repeat myself a couple times. I am tweeting you a video letter instead of emailing you because I was hoping that I could be more effective with my message. I am self-taught in internet culture, so at first glance, I know I seem very normie, very much on team normie. You know, my lack of video editing skills, and actually, it will be a miracle if I can figure out how to upload this to YouTube and tweet it to you, if I'm being honest. And I will probably have to have my husband's help. Although I want to figure out how to do it myself because I feel that sometimes he thinks I'm not always in balance with how much I'm into politics right now and like the other stuff in other parts of life, my responsibility, my kids, everything we have going on. So I have YouTube going a lot in the background, and I think it gets kind of annoying to him sometimes, to be honest. But anyway, yeah. So I'm not really sure how he would feel about me making a video for someone that I've never met, which is you. But so I'm a little embarrassed to ask him to help, but I might because I'm not very technically savvy. Anyway, I feel like a lot of people in my family, I feel like don't really understand that, red pilling or whatever. It's not like entertainment. Like it is kind of at first, but it actually like shifts the paradigm in your head. So it's hard to think about other things than the things that actually matter. So I feel like I need to talk about important things all the time because I feel like we're at a point in society where we need to correct course. And if I'm not willing to do what I can, then I can't really get mad at anyone or blame anyone for the direction the world is going in. So things need to start getting done properly. So I'm going to start reading pretty soon. I'm one of the I know I'm one of the minority of people in this world who lives in a free society where we actually have guaranteed free speech. So I also feel kind of obligated to talk and to be interested in things that matter. Okay, so with that said, my concern and constant attention to politics is not why I feel like I'm on the other team than the normies. I guess that's called team weaponized autism. I know I'm not one of those guys, but I feel like I feel solidarity more with them than the normies at this point in my life. So, and the reason why I feel like I'm more to that side is because before I even knew what trolling was, I kind of trolled the Richard Dawkins Foundation. He has this openly secular movement thing where he started it. I don't know if he still does it. And I made a video for them, and I never hid my identity or lied or anything like that, but I told my story of leaving the Jehovah's Witness cult and my experience with secular people after leaving the cult, and the perspective I was trying to project was that people outside the cult were just as dogmatic and closed-minded as people in the cult. That was my experience. And I was trying to tell the story in a way that I didn't have to say that everyone in the world is dogmatic and closed-minded, even secular people. So my motives for the video were intentionally ambiguous as a strategy to make my message not make people feel defensive when they heard it. Like basically, I was trying to be persuasive. And I feel like that's Trump's technique. And I'm not trying to compare myself to a master troll, but wasn't I that kind of a troll what I did? I don't know. So here's another one. When Ben Affleck was on Bill Maher's show and he said that statistics were gross and racist, and then most of the people I'm really close with and who know what I have really struggled with, partially as a result of heavy indoctrination in my own family. So when I realized that they all thought that Ben Affleck had a better handle and a more correct perspective on the connection between terrorism and religion than the philosopher and neuroscientist Sam Harris, I felt compelled, pretty much out of frustration, to do something about that. So I committed to being an apostate. And that was kind of a big deal because my family was all trying to not call me an apostate. Anyway, it's a whole long story, but I committed to being an apostate, and so I actively became a member of like some ex-JW Facebook activist groups and that sort of thing, and I started posting nonstop on Facebook. And I really did this because I wanted to have solidarity with Muslim apostates who couldn't do that, so I was doing that, and it was really the best thing I could come up with, because I couldn't think of what else I could really do. And I hadn't been on Facebook before. That was the other thing. I was actively trying to avoid Facebook. So I was never really into social media. So it was a difficult decision for me to go through with that because I did alienate myself even further from my family than I'd already done when I left the religion I grew up in. So that was a really difficult thing for me to decide to do. I know I hurt them, and it was painful for me, but I know I hurt them, and I know they thought that my behavior was unnecessary, and I wasn't even trying to take down the Watchtower or anything like that. I really just, I spoke out about being a Jehovah's Witness apostate on Facebook all the time, so that way I think I was a troll because I'm pretty sure I was pretty annoying to everyone. My strategy was to say the word apostate lots and lots and lots and lots of times. It was the only thing I could think of to do. So after I established to my ex-JW activist persona, after I established that, that's when I started talking more about Islam. And it was really disheartening to understand that my socially conscientious friends couldn't appreciate the difficulty that apostates have in the Muslim world where free speech and freedom of religion does not exist. I realized that my most conscientious friends, who work tirelessly to promote equality and freedom for everyone, seemed disgusted at the freedom we have compared to the lack of freedom in Muslim societies, and I knew it was like a colonialism guilt thing, and my less conscientious friends, basically they just don't give a shit about things that matter. So, I'm pretty sure none of my friends were thrilled to get almost all of my posts on Facebook, which were one of the two topics, ex-Jehovah's Witness or political. And so then I started requesting friends from my ex-JW community Facebook pages, and I noticed that most of these activists did not want to acknowledge or discuss the advocacy we should be having for apostates within the Islamic community. And we should not be running from the word apostate. We should try to normalize it and embrace it as much as possible. But I reached no one, and no one understood my point, and I think I alienated a lot of people because they were so compartmentalized in their thinking, and talking about Islam was too taboo. And so my experience of irritating everyone in the tolerant and open communities on Facebook, it may be a lame troll, but I think it is a troll, or at least super annoying. So after all that, I am still on Team Normie, probably, but I think I'm a benched player on the team. Anyway, I'm interested in your project about the farmers in South Africa. This is another one of those topics that is strangely taboo, and I don't get it. I've noticed clips from your project that these white South African farmers feel very connected to their land, and they feel that the land is even worth dying for. And I feel an moral urgency to somehow change their minds on that. Don't you? I have no shame to say that I feel that white advocacy is appropriate and moral. Additionally, I feel that we could really use their skills in this country. Government subsidies, regulation, and taxes have encouraged the centralization of agriculture business. Government export policies hold American farmers hostage. Keep in mind that American farmers used to be the most badass people that society had to offer, and now they're held hostage with their hands out to the political whims of both the Republican and Democratic administrations. The same system that feeds much of the world has also frustrated the development of free and stable trade relationships between people of the world. This horrible system of centralized farming has completely warped the citizens of our country. Food is something everyone should value. It is something that now is only valued by vain and self-righteous coastal elites and the people that care more about animals than humans. Those seem to be the most vocal people when we're talking about farming practices. We are so out of touch with life by relying on the government to feed us. Plus, it skews the free market. Capitalists can't compete with government subsidies and infrastructure, so they have to compete where they can make profit, which is processed foods. The result of that arrangement is now Americans are fat, depressed, very sick with non-communicable disease, lazy, indifferent, and mocked around the world. I can't even imagine the depths of the domino effect this has had in our world. Trump has said that 90% of heroin that gets in the U.S. comes in through the Mexican border. How are these drug cartels getting all this heroin? It seems like the American government should know how, considering that the American military is in Afghanistan, the nation where the only profitable crop export is poppy. They could grow cotton, but they can't compete with American subsidized cotton, so if they grew cotton, they would starve. So they grow poppy. Now it seems like tracking where opiates go would be on the top priority list of military intel in Afghanistan, but I guess no one is tracing where the opiates end up? I don't know. I mean, it seems like heroin is cultivated in Afghanistan because there is not much else they can grow because of unfair trade, and somehow heroin is ending up in America through the Mexican border. And I hate to speculate, but, I think Afghanistan would be better off growing cotton. Agriculture reform is a major problem to take on. What we have now is a system of subjugation through food. We've been brainwashed for so long that the only way to grow food is in a way that lazy white people will never do. Meanwhile, we're totally fine with immigrants coming over and doing dreadful, back-breaking labor for next to nothing, and we fight for their rights to have that dreadful existence and then pat ourselves on the back for giving them the opportunity to be government slaves. My husband and I have had a high-yield, small market garden. We've been practicing for the past couple of years. We feel like it's a responsible and healthy thing to do to try to learn how to grow food. I know there are many ways that farming can be practiced, and I can testify that solving our problems of agriculture in America will require many skilled farmers. So, to me, the best case scenario is to offer the white South African farmers sanctuary in the U.S., and together we can establish a way to systematically withdraw from U.S. state centralized farming. And that could actually change the whole world on so many different levels. So anyway, thanks for listening.